welcome to the Shootout. I'm Eric Johnson, and I'm being joined alongside Sean Schornbrough. And Sean, Super Bowl happened last week. What are your thoughts?
I honestly wasn't happy for the first half. I thought I was not getting anything that I was advertised. But, Patty Mahomes did his thing. Kyle Shanahan gave me a little bit of a 2015 flashback there real quick. And I honestly thought we ended up with a pretty dang good Super Bowl. What about you, man?
I was going to say, I thought it was good, not great. It was a really good Super Bowl, but there's nothing in there that stood out. I'm happy for the Chiefs. I'm happy for their fans. And it was a really enjoyable game, but there was nothing that stood out like a legendary Super Bowl.
Yes. For example, I'm a diehard Giants fan. There was no Tyree or Manningham type play. The loudest the room got that I was in was when the baby nut came out in the Planters commercial. That was the loudest the room I was in got. So there was nothing that was amazing that everyone went, oh, dang! It was a good Super Bowl, a good game of football. You saw what, in my opinion, is the two best teams in football play it out, and the deserving team ended up winning.
They didn't cry over Loretta, did they?
No, they didn't. No, nobody cried over that. But I think we did see some flaws in each team.
Yes.
For example, the Chiefs, we obviously saw what we know. They're a good comeback team. They are a dangerous team. I believe we saw what was lacking in their linebacker core. There's a reason Deebo Samuel was able to get so loose on those end arounds. Play recognition even was a little bit loose, in my opinion. And on the 49ers side, we saw that Jimmy Garoppolo is not a franchise guy. Or no, he's a franchise guy, but not an elite guy. He's not the guy that's going to get you to the playoffs without the team around him.
Not yet, at least.
Not yet. He's been in the league for 7 years. What do you mean not yet?
Yeah.
I don't think he is going to be that guy. That's just my opinion. We could see things two different ways. But out of what I've seen, I think he's a good quarterback, not a great quarterback. And I think that was proven on Sunday.
He could win you a Super Bowl. I will say this.
He's good enough to win you a Super Bowl.
He is good enough to win you a Super Bowl.
Yes.
But I don't think, like you said, is he a top 10 quarterback in the league? I don't know that yet.
That's where the argument comes in for me. But I think I can justify 10 to 12 guys being better than Jimmy Garoppolo to where we start getting into a heated debate over if he's better.
Looking at his stat line, 20 for 31, 219 yards, a touchdown, and 2 interceptions. And, of course, the second interception came on the last play of the game.
Yeah, and second interception, you're trying to force
like I said,
point.
good,
but the first
not great.
interception was atrocious.
That was a bad throw.
I don't get why he doesn't even think about you're getting closer to field goal range, and you got to make sure you get that ball out of bounds. Any smart quarterback gets that ball out of bounds. I get it's the biggest game of your life. And honestly, this was a legacy moment for Jimmy Garoppolo. This was a moment where he could have started writing his own script line as a quarterback, could have really stepped out of the shadows of Tom Brady, even though he's been gone for years now. And it just didn't go his way. We could criticize Shanahan. There's plenty of guys we could criticize. Honestly, it wasn't just Jimmy Garoppolo. No. Let's get that straight. But Jimmy Garoppolo does deserve some of the blame here.
It does. And I'm saying, I'll say this, he did a good job in this game. I know he did a couple throws that were like, oh, God, really? Why would you throw that?
He got worse as the game went on.
He did.
He started out very well.
As the pressure got more and more on him, he got comfortable.
Yes.
I think, and he got way too comfortable.
You saw the difference between a good and great quarterback in this game because we saw a good quarterback go up against a great quarterback. A good quarterback knows how to stop the bleeding. A great quarterback knows how to stop the bleeding.
And that great quarterback, of course, is Patrick Mahomes, 26 for 42, 286 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Pretty good game for Patrick Mahomes.
Yes, and if you would have just isolated those second from the first half stats, it's a completely different stat line.
Is.
That Chiefs offense was a different offense. Can we also give Andy Reid a quick shout out of some of the best play calling I've ever seen?
Seriously, that was probably Andy Reid's best.
It was a play calling masterpiece. They were creative yet simple. They took a play from the 1948 Rose Bowl.
That's beautiful.
It's beautiful.
That's brilliant.
It shows you the depth of his football knowledge. Andy Reid is a different monster in play calling. And experience was a big brunt to this. I was talking to people, and they're like, Robert Saleh knows his stuff, and Robert Saleh does know his stuff. But if you want to talk about, but this is the thing that makes the Chiefs so great. It's not Andy Reid versus Robert Saleh or Eric Bieniemy versus Robert Saleh. It's Eric Reid and Eric Bieniemy versus Robert Saleh. And then it's Kyle Shanahan who's doing the brunt of two people against a former Super Bowl champion as a defensive coordinator. I said this one from the start. I said it on another website I work for. When I did a video, I said the coaching staff and the experience of this coaching staff will prove crucial in this game. And please tell me it didn't.
They did. They did. The Chiefs have probably one of, if not the best staff in the NFL.
Yes. Eric Bieniemy should be a head coach and might be on his way to Colorado based off
Eric Bieniemy has, I think he didn't get one interview. He might have gotten one or two.
He got a couple interviews. I know he interviewed with the Giants.
But he was never one on any board.
The Giants were actually very impressed with him, but it ended up being Joe Judge was just the favorite.
Yeah.
And I think he should be a head coach. The fact that Eric Bieniemy isn't a head coach right now, I think is atrocious. I mean, you know that Andy Reid produces good coaches. Look at the coaching tree. Look at Nagy. Look at Peterson. And Andy Reid talks just as highly, if not more highly, of Eric Bieniemy than any of those guys. So tell me where this thought that he shouldn't be your head coach is. This offseason, I thought it was a matter of fit. I didn't think there was a perfect fit for Bieniemy outside of Carolina.
And even then, they got their guy.
They went with
massive
Rule.
commitment.
Yeah, they got their guy. So this offseason was a matter of fit. But in past offseasons, there's been multiple times where I said Eric Bieniemy should be the guy.
And looking at some of the rosters, and you're right with Bieniemy, because I'm looking at some of the coaches in this league. You look at Anthony Lynn. You look at Adam Gase. You look at other members of the Jay Gruden last year as an example. You look at some of these teams in this league, and I'm looking at Eric Bieniemy, and I'm saying he's better than all three of those guys.
I'd agree with you, other than, actually, the only person I agree with is Adam Gase. I thought they should have hired Adam Gase. I think Anthony Lynn's a good coach. I think Anthony Lynn's a very good coach. I think they've got unlucky with injuries, and they held on to the Phillip Rivers plug for too long.
This is a big year for Anthony Lynn, though.
This is the make it or break it year for Anthony Lynn. I totally agree. This team was killed. Their star defensive player, one of their star defensive players, let me rephrase, and Derwin James got hurt. Jay Gruden, I think he got held up in a crapshoot of an organization. But let's not forget, before Alex Smith got hurt, that team was 6-2 when leading the NFC.
They were, yeah.
He was the coach of the year before the Alex Smith injury. So with that said, I'm going to disagree with some of that statement, but I get the sentiment you're making, and I agree with it. If you wanted, I thought they should have. I predicted Adam Gase to the Jets, but I still would have said Eric Bieniemy deserves a shot. Eric Bieniemy, I thought, was the guy for that job. And let's not forget, Matt Rule is supposed to be that guy for the job, and they had a disagreement over the offensive coordinator.
Same with Mike McCarthy. McCarthy wanted GM powers, and he didn't get that, and the Johnsons didn't want to give it to him, and that's why they ended up with Adam Gase.
Yeah, Adam Gase was like the third choice on that list, and I don't get how Eric Bieniemy wasn't above Adam Gase, considering how the Miami tenure ended.
You put Eric Bieniemy where Adam Gase is, arguably the Jets are a playoff team.
I think, I mean, if that's a lot of speculation. Like, we still don't know how good of a coach is Eric Bieniemy is. But I would say that off of what I've seen, and off of what I've seen from other Reid disciples, that's definitely a possibility.
Because, this is just my opinion, he doesn't lose that game in Cincinnati, he doesn't lose that game in Miami, and he doesn't blow that lead against Buffalo in Week 1.
Yes, again, I do.
It's just a whole bunch of what ifs.
It's a lot of what ifs, and we still have never seen him as a head coach. Let's remember that. So, but off of his experience, off of what I've seen from other Andy Reid disciples, again, I wouldn't disagree. I wouldn't be staunchly against that statement.
And going back to the Super Bowl, though, Eric Bieniemy, some of his play calling and some of Andy Reid's play calling, just phenomenal during the Super Bowl.
Yeah, Andy Reid's the full play caller, but the game plan those two installed together was phenomenal. It was a work of art.
It was just such that combo.
It was like looking at a Da Vinci painting on a football field.
It was just so beautiful.
It was something amazing.
And who else had a beautiful game? Tyreek Hill, 9 receptions, 105 yards.
Big one late too. He had not late on the third down play after the challenge.
I thought he should have been MVP.
Oh really?
He was my vote for MVP.
Damian Williams was my vote.
Damian Williams got snubbed. He was 35-1 to win MVP too, and I know some people that bet on Damian Williams, and they would have made a bank if he won MVP.
A couple of your boys got screwed over, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But Damian Williams should have clearly been the MVP, in my opinion. Over 100 yards rushing
and
on only 17 carries.
That dagger of a touchdown too.
He had a dagger. He scored the game winner on a great athletic play. It might have only been like a 4-yard touchdown, but it wasn't an easy 4 yards.
No, it was a 35-yard touchdown. I'm talking
about the game winner.
Yeah.
The game winner before that.
Yeah.
The final one I'm talking about the passing one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, where he had to stretch out at the end.
Yeah.
He worked to get in there. That was a short touchdown, but it was a work for touchdown.
It was an effective touchdown.
Yes, yeah. It was one that the stat sheet does not do its justice because of the effort. But I felt like he should have been there. Tyreek Hill, I think he changed the tide of the game with that catch. That 42-yard catch to get open, he changed the tide of it. He everybody talks about Richard Sherman. He got into the beef with Darrelle Revis going up into the game. Darrelle Revis was right. Sherman got beat by Sammy Watkins and Tyreek Hill in that game. Sammy Watkins had a huge play down the sideline where he got burnt by Sherman.
I was going to say, you want to talk about people that we looked over for having a good game. Sammy Watkins is the guy. 5 receptions, 98 yards.
He did his thing,
on 6 targets. Only 1 missed target for Sammy Watkins. Yes. That is a really, really good performance.
The entire Chiefs receiving corps, we've talked about how talented they are, and they proved it once again. It's the most talented receiving corps in the league, And Demarcus Robinson even had his career year and is now probably going to look at a payday in free agency.
Absolutely. And he was what? Late round draft pick?
I can't think of it off the top of my head. It wouldn't even shock me if he was undrafted. But
speaking of undrafted, Raheem Mostert, 12 attempts, 58 yards, and a touchdown for the Niners. I know that was a prime discussion going in, is how's Mostert going to react after that massive game against Green Bay.
He ran well. He just didn't get the touches.
Yeah.
Like, he's a good running back. But it's what's been good about San Francisco all year. Feeding Mostert 35 times when you're expecting it does not fit Kyle Shanahan's MO.
No.
You know he wants to be different. You know he wants to throw a couple wrinkles in there. So he ran Deebo Samuel 4 times. He had 3 rushes, but he also had a push pass on like an end around, which is legally a pass. But that was his wrinkle. But I felt in the passing game he was not creative enough. It was a lot of simple this and that. Even though in the end Jimmy Garoppolo had Emmanuel Sanders open, he had the Super Bowl throw to make when they were down right before the interception.
And he overthrew
him.
And that was all Garoppolo.
That one's Garoppolo.
Sanders was there.
Sanders beat
he
2
was
guys.
There.
That was the Super Bowl moment. That was the, oh my God, that's bigger than the Planters baby nut moment.
This is going to be, the Manningham level play.
Yes, this was the David Tyree, Mario Manningham, that Malcolm Smith interception type play.
And again, like I said earlier, how did I open the show? Good, not great. Was looking for that great play. That would have been great play.
That was the play. That was the play that Tom Brady makes, that Patrick Mahomes made, that Peyton Manning would make, that Drew Brees would make.
And that's the thing that
that's
we're
what we
talking
talk
about.
About. Difference between good and great.
But instead, the leader for the Niners, Kendrick Bourne, 2 receptions, 42 yards.
Like I said, receivers were getting some separation, but I felt it was a lot of simple route trees. I wasn't seeing anything creative like I've seen in games past.
I like the mix though. He really spread it out really, really well. He didn't give it to one guy in particular. He really threw,
he threw to multiple guys.
Yeah, he threw to multiple guys. Yeah.
I agree with that. I like that. Like, you need to be spread out, but it was a easy to cover offense. I felt like I wasn't seeing many people stretching the field. Like, I would have liked to see more field stretching. Emmanuel Sanders is a vet. You know nobody's going to be able to cover Deebo Samuel as their number 2 over the middle. Make the Chiefs defense stop you instead of you being simple.
And I think Deebo did have a really, really good game.
Deebo at halftime was my Super Bowl MVP.
He was too. Yeah, same here.
I think he had all 3 of his carries in the first half and also had 30-something yards receiving. He was my Super Bowl MVP going into halftime.
He's a breakout player next year.
I've told you this multiple times.
Yes,
that he's going to develop.
Yeah.
I told you this multiple times that he's going to develop into a 1,000-yard receiver and be a top 15. Like, that second-year leap that Cortland Sutton took this year? In a similar offense, like, it's not like play calling wise, but where they're somewhat more run heavy than what Denver was for some of the year, you will see a similar leap from Deebo Samuel.
And that's the thing. Like, you say Cortland Sutton, I say like a DJ Moore. Very similar. Very similar.
But the point is that second-year leap where he goes from 600 to 800-yard guy, a guy that you kind of have your eye on but nothing elite to, wow, he's like a top 20 wide receiver. Right. He's like a number 1 guy.
And the thing is, all the really good NFL teams have that one wide receiver that they go to. Brady's got Edelman. Mm-hmm. Rodgers has Devontae Adams. Deshaun Watson has DeAndre Hopkins. The Niners need that guy, and Deebo Samuel could be it.
All right, I'm going to ask you a question. Why isn't George Kittle it? Because in my opinion, George Kittle's already that.
George Kittle is more like I said, he's like a Zach Ertz. Like, because he can block, too. That's the thing. Like,
so you're telling me Deebo Samuel's going to be the Alshon Jeffrey to the Zach Ertz?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, no, I would agree with that.
Or in their prime, like a Greg Olsen to whoever Carolina had as their WR1.
I believe it was briefly Steve Smith.
It was briefly Steve Smith, yeah. The Steve Smith to the Greg Olsen, something like that. That's what I see George Kittle
being.
the
Julian Edelman to the Rob Gronkowski.
Yes, exactly. And that's why I think the Niners, they are built for the long run. People are like, oh, are the Niners going to drop off a cliff?
Yeah.
They're built for the long run.
Because what every other team does to screw themselves is overpay their quarterback. We saw the Rams do that, work themselves in the cap hill, overpay everyone around them.
Now they have no space.
Garoppolo is already on a contract. That was a high contract at the time. But now paying your quarterback $28 million a year, I believe it is.
Something like that.
Yeah, it doesn't seem bad.
It doesn't now, considering you
got 34 from Goff. Mahomes will probably get 40 when he's out.
You're hearing Prescott getting 35?
Yes. So paying Garoppolo 28, which is what Brady's expecting in free agency, doesn't seem like a bad deal in my opinion.
I just read something that said the top 2 quarterbacks this year in AAV, Rodgers and Wilson, are tied at 30.5.
Yes.
So if you say Prescott's getting 35, that's the highest paid quarterback in the league. Garoppolo at 28, again, made the Super Bowl. You're right. It's not that bad when looking at things.
No, it's really not. And you still got 4 more years of control of Bosa. A few more years of a couple other guys. Deebo Samuel, 3 more years. We're talking about the playmaker he's going to become. Buckner, they've got a couple more years of.
Quan Alexander,
yes.
they just signed to a
Quan Alexander was signed to a big deal. I don't think he ends up filling out that contract. I think he'll end up being a cash casualty somewhere. But Fred Warner.
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, nobody talks about that guy. He will stay with San Francisco, where he's going to be one of the most underpaid free agents when he leaves.
Got a pick in the Super Bowl.
He did. He was a huge part. Richard Sherman was on an undervalued contract. I believe he was only on a 1-year deal. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Got cut by Seattle.
Yes. So tell me he's not coming back. Tell me Richard Sherman doesn't want another ring and that he just got a chip on his shoulder from this game.
And I know he had a bad game, but Jimmy Ward, too.
Jimmy Ward, Jaquiski Tartt has quietly developed into one of the best safeties in football, in my opinion. He is a fantastic safety to be the back end of that defense. They have so many players that are on team-friendly deals that have 1 or 2, maybe even 3 more years of control, that San Francisco still probably has the ability, I'd have to look at the numbers more in depth, to actually bring back Emmanuel Sanders. And hell, we're in a receiver deep draft. You know you don't have that many holes. Why not throw in a Laviska Shenault at the end of the first round? Maybe I'd probably go with another corner depending on how the board falls. Or in the second round, you're still looking at a pretty good receiver.
And that's the thing with the draft. And that's the thing you were talking about with the draft. This draft is very, very receiver heavy.
And running back heavy. It fits right into what Kyle Shanahan wants to just elevate Jimmy Garoppolo further.
Exactly.
You said it perfectly. The Niners are built for the long haul. I'm more worried about the Chiefs next year, considering I believe Chris Jones is hitting unrestricted free agency.
Yes.
Sammy Watkins is might be a cap casualty and is considering taking a year off. The Chiefs are the team I'm more worried about a year from now and making the Super Bowl. I feel more confident that the Chiefs would make the playoffs when you consider their division. But I would feel more confident that the Niners are more ready for the Super Bowl.
And here's the thing. We saw how strong the AFC is. Baltimore. 14-2 regular season, got the MVP. If New England gets Brady back and they get weapons, you can't count them out.
I also want to say there's no really, I believe, elite weapons this year available in free agency.
There's not.
And Bill Belichick cannot evaluate wide receivers. But it's hard to go wrong in this draft.
It is. There's so many good things. And that's, I think, what Brady wants. Houston. I know we talked about Houston a lot and how Bill O'Brien's holding them back. The roster on paper is really, really good.
Yes.
Tennessee. If they bring Tannehill back, if they bring Derrick Henry back, they're a sleeper once again.
Yes, they could be. I'm off the Tennessee bandwagon because they've got a lot of defensive players who need to be re-signed.
They do too.
I don't think you could re-sign all the defensive players while also bringing back Tannehill and Henry, who are both going to want. Tannehill will probably get franchised maybe.
I'm guessing Tannehill gets franchised
I'm guessing he tries to pressure them into a franchise. And if they don't franchise him, he'll probably leave because somebody else will pay him.
Because there's some team that wants quarterback.
Yes. So I honestly, as controversial as it sounds, what Tennessee needs to do, in my opinion, is franchise Henry and try to get Tannehill on a cheap, and if not, you let Tannehill walk. So with that said, this is the year you might say, maybe we'll let Tannehill go, save ourselves a couple bucks, take a risk on a Taysom Hill or Phillip Rivers, and then you hope that the running back market doesn't pay Henry what it did Le'Veon Bell.
Exactly.
And if you do, you say screw it and you absorb the hit because at least you saved up the quarterback position where most teams overpay. And your receivers are all on rookie contracts.
On the topic of Taysom Hill, there is no team that has their window as tight as the Saints, in my opinion. Because you have Breeze.
I think it's closed.
It could be closed. The Vikings, we could have shut them down. The Vikings could have shut them down. That could have been.
If they re-sign Breeze, it's closed.
Yeah.
Because Breeze can't play a 20-game season and bring you to a Super Bowl.
He's not.
He's too old.
He's not, and you saw that in the wild card game.
Yes, and that was with 7-game rest because of injuries, where he came back looking like himself.
Breeze, free agent. Bridgewater, free agent. Taysom Hill, RFA.
Yes, they need to choose.
They need to choose now.
Everybody's saying who are you going to choose, Bridgewater, Breeze, or Hill? It's hard to get rid of a franchise guy, and I get that, but I'm choosing between Bridgewater and Hill.
I am
not
too.
Breeze.
I am too, and I think the guy to go with is Bridgewater.
Me too, because Taysom Hill offers more upside. But you saw with Teddy Bridgewater and this team, you don't need an upside guy. You need a safe guy for the Saints. So if I'm an up-and-coming team, like let's just say Tennessee, where hey, I might be a little bit off after a couple guys, but you're like, yo, this running quarterback thing's really been developing, and you might think there's something there with Taysom Hill. Yeah, you might take a risk on Taysom Hill because I feel like he's not going to get $25 million.
And I think he'll fit really good in Mike Vrabel's system.
And he might be able to fit very well in the system, where you can move things around. And then worst comes to worst, you just reevaluate where you are a year from now, and and if he really is that bad, you're looking at Trevor Fields, Justin Lawrence, or Jamie Newman.
Exactly. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, with New Orleans again, the talent's there. the talent on paper is there, but you need that quarterback. And I doubt Breeze should be your future guy going forward.
Game 1, I think Breeze looks better. Game 15 or 16, game 17 or 18, we're talking about the playoffs. If Breeze arms fades out, and now we're saying Bridgewater or Taysom Hill is the better quarterback. At that point, if I need a spot start, I'm still taking Breeze.
And again, that division is no longer a gimme because Tampa, you have to assume they're getting better with the Arians. Atlanta, they could get their stuff together.
Atlanta beat some good teams, and they fought in most games.
They fought for Dan Quinn.
Yes.
The only one I'm counting out for now is Carolina.
I hate Carolina.
I don't see Carolina as a playoff.
They literally brought a college coaching staff to the NFL level. I don't believe any of their coaches were actually a coordinator at the NFL level. Joe Brady wasn't even a play caller at the college level. Phil Snow, smart at the college level, I believe he was an assistant coach for a while. Never a defensive coordinator in the NFL. You brought a very successful college staff to the NFL. And you see time and time again that doesn't translate.
Exactly.
Very few college coaches in general are successful in the NFL with a bunch of NFL personnel around them. Bill O'Brien is like the ceiling of what that's been recently.
Yeah.
Most college coaches that have come, Nick I'm a
Saban.
diehard Rutgers guy. Saban wasn't great. Greatest college football coach of all time. Greg Schiano revitalized the Rutgers program. Couldn't get it done in Tampa.
And then there's the 1 year Bobby Petrino in Atlanta, rather infamously.
Ooh, yeah, that's still rough to talk about.
4-12, but it got him Matt Ryan, so...
I guess there's a silver lining in every story.
There's a silver lining in every story, right?
Yes, but college coaches don't work out or don't usually work out very often. And I like Matt Rule. I wanted the Giants to get Matt Rule, but if you had told me this was the staff Matt Rule was getting put together, I think the Giants dodged a bullet.
You would dropped out, yeah.
If this is what Matt Rule wanted, the Giants dodged a bullet.
But yeah, so that's the thing about the Saints, that division is not a gimme anymore, especially because they could be having their own quarterback controversy.
If Tampa Bay gets a quarterback, they are very dangerous. If they don't need a talented quarterback, they need a safe quarterback. They need a Bridgewater, a guy who won't turn it over.
Okay, let's say the rumors are true and they get Rivers. Do they win the division if the Saints don't bring Breeze back?
Because he has less arm talent than Jameis Winston at this point of his career and just as bad of a turnover.
Yeah, because that's the rumor right now is that Philip Rivers is probably.
I think it's ludicrous. A guy who also overly turns the ball over to replace it, who's older to replace a younger guy who turns the ball over. In my opinion, it makes no sense.
Rivers did not impress me this year.
What they should get is Tom Brady.
Yeah, exactly.
Tom Brady still has the arm talent. With two great receivers in Godwin and Evans, he's not going to turn the ball over. That could be lightning in a bottle.
And those are his weapons that he's been talking about.
I think they've got one of the smartest offensive coaching staffs in the league. You want to talk about a future head coach? Byron Leftwich. You know it. I love that guy.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Byron Leftwich,
I like what Byron Leftwich and Bruce Arians have done there, and I think Byron Leftwich should start getting coaching interviews if that offense does better next year.
Last year when Byron Leftwich got fired from Arizona, I thought it was asinine. I thought it was crazy. I'm like, why'd they fire Byron Leftwich? And now he's in Tampa, and you understand that it's still crazy for them to fire Byron Leftwich.
Yeah, it was a Arizona rebuilt their system. I understand it. But I don't think it was a knock on Leftwich as much as it was just a change in culture altogether.
And then there's Arizona with David Johnson's uncertainty. There's no player that's fallen harder off a cliff.
Yeah, it's not his fault.
This year than David Johnson. It is. It's not really his fault.
It is. Injuries take a toll. Football's a rough sport, especially on the running back position. But with Kyler Murray, the future's still looking bright.
And Kenyon Drake too. Kenyon Drake he proved his worth at the end of last year.
Yes, he had a couple of nice games. Am I sold on Kenyon Drake? No, I'm not.
I don't think he can be a franchise running back.
I think in a league that's going more and more towards the running back committee ideals, I think Kenyon Drake could be a very nice option for a team.
Exactly, because again, you're not asking him to be the number one guy. You're maybe asking him to be 1A or 1B. Like I think Philly's doing it well with Howard and Sanders.
I love what they're doing with Howard and Sanders.
And of course, the Cardinals are bringing back Larry Fitz.
Yes. Because I will say with Philly, I think they do have an asinine commitment to a running back by committee. Meaning, game in and game out, it'll be obvious. Jordan Howard has the hot hand, especially early in the season, and they're just constantly feeding Miles Sanders. But Jordan Howard's the more productive of the two, and it's like 3rd and 4, and I'm seeing Miles Sanders get the pitch, and I'm sitting there wondering Doug Peterson's weird commitment. Now, the more carries Sanders got, the better he got.
Exactly. But once Howard got hurt.
Yes. It
had to result in Howard getting hurt for him to say, okay, Miles Sanders, you're the guy.
Yes. But he kept giving this weird commitment to Miles Sanders. You could tell Peterson liked him, even though Sanders was unproductive at the beginning, and I think it cost them a game or two.
And, of course, if you're looking at rookie running backs, because we're talking about Miles Sanders, Josh Jacobs in Oakland. Or should I say now Las Vegas?
Yes, Las Vegas Raiders. Josh Jacobs proved that he has the potential to be an elite quarterback or elite running back. with the Raiders, in my opinion.
Especially because the Raiders had a so-so offensive line. I mean, it wasn't awful, but it wasn't great.
No, far from it.
And he's putting up those numbers. Sky's the limit for him.
No, he also comes into the league where Alabama, where they were somewhat of a predecessor in the running back by committee, they still do it. So he comes in with less mileage on him than the average college running back who has probably taken 400 carries in his college career.
Exactly, and again, you were talking about this running back committee. Vegas has depth. Richard, Washington. I mean, not Josh Jacobs levels, but the Raiders could be a sneaky team next year.
They could, because we've seen in the past, Derek Carr is good enough to get you to the playoffs.
Yeah, but Gruden apparently doesn't have faith in Carr.
And I don't get it.
I don't get it either.
I understand he's not only guy, he's in the Garoppolo tier, in my opinion. But he has half the roster Garoppolo does.
Yeah.
Mike Mayock, John Gruden need to do a better job because we talk about how good of a draft they had last year. They got Jacobs, they got Abrams, who looks like he'll be a good safety. Hunter Renfrow. Clelin Ferrell was a bust though.
Yeah.
They've swung and missed on the most important pick.
Yeah.
On the 4th overall pick, they swung and missed. I think he had 4.5 sacks this year. 4 sacks, 2.5 came against the Chargers. He showed you he might have potential against the Chargers, but in the other 15 games was nothing.
I did a mock draft last year for the Raiders, and I had them getting Ed Oliver. If you put Ed Oliver on the Raiders right now, that's easily a huge step above Clelin Ferrell.
Yes, I agree. He did. Where did he go? Buffalo. Yeah,
Buffalo.
He started out rough.
That's another team in the AFC.
Yes, but
Buffalo.
He got better and better as the season went on. So circling back to our original point on this, the depth in the NFL for both of these teams they're both going against some rough objectives. We're talking about how many teams could be sneaky. Like you talked about, you don't like Adam Gase. The Jets are a team to keep an eye on if they get rid of Bell and free up a bunch of cap space.
Yeah.
Kansas City could be losing a couple big components and has to deal with Denver that now has Pat Shurmur, a guy I really like as an offensive coordinator. Oakland sneaky, and that's just within their own division.
Yeah.
Houston could be good. Tennessee's coming off something nice.
Indianapolis, if they get a quarterback, they could be good.
Yes, if they make a splash at quarterback, they're only a year removed from Andrew Luck, where we thought they were going to be that contender.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Well, that'll do it for this week. Tune in next time for the Shootout.